Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Anjiko, and I'm going to be the coordinator for the session today. Welcome to our Nairobi DevOps community webinar. And today's topic is going to be on CV optimization by Amos Guni, who is a global technical recruiter. And I'm going to let him introduce himself a bit later. But before that, we're going to I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the community. Okay, so we have a quote of the day, and the quote for today is: "Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can." So it's just encouragement to take action now, and it might seem small, insignificant, but eventually would have a change. Yeah, using the resources that you have and the time that you have, you can still make a change. Yeah, so for the agenda today, we're going to have a short icebreaker. Then I'll talk about the community for like 2 minutes. And then Amos is going to take us through CV optimization. Then we'll have a Q&A session. So for our icebreaker today, is a question, and it's for TV show or movie recommendations. So what's the best movie or TV show you've watched recently? So for this, you can just type in our chat section what's the best movie or TV show that you've watched recently. Okay, Michael says Akin. Not heard of that one. Like Salvation. Amos, you maybe want to share your recommendation? Okay. Anyone else? Sam? I'm seeing Albertine says Yellowstone. It's amazing. For me, the one I've been watching recently is The Good Doctor. I find it very fascinating. Martin Kimani says The Beekeeper. Okay. Anyone else before we proceed? The original, Ken. Okay, so Ken seems to be very popular. I'll definitely have a look. For anyone else who's looking for something to watch, we can get recommendations from our chat section today. Okay, so about our community, we are Nairobi DevOps community, and our community is made up of DevOps enthusiasts. Those are experts and learners who are looking for opportunity to network and grow. So people who've been in the field for a while and people who are beginning or just curious about the field. We create a platform for being able to interact and network. And our mission is to create a supportive and inclusive community that values diversity and supports learning and growth. Our vision is to become a leading DevOps community in Nairobi and beyond, driving innovation and empowering professionals to excel in their career. Yeah, so there are many ways for anyone who's interested in plugging into the community. So one of them is running workshops and topics that come easy to you. So you can, if you have something that you're passionate about and you want to share, we can provide the platform for you. So we usually run these workshops and you can apply to be a speaker and talk on it. Then can also connect us with DevOps professionals, people who might be able, or people who are already in DevOps and want to share their knowledge or skills, you can connect us to them so that they can contribute to the community. Then giving feedback and sharing on how to make the community better. Can give us feedback on how the community is impacting you and things we can improve and change so that everyone has the best experience in the community. We can share our posts and post on our channel. So we have a WhatsApp community, a WhatsApp group, and a Twitter page, and also LinkedIn. So you can join and contribute in those various platforms. You can help in organizing events. So we have such events. We had Nairobi DevOps Days a few months ago, and we're also having the Africa DevOps Summit coming up soon. So you can help us organize the event and also join our branding team. So make posters for these events and the upcoming ones. Like I've just mentioned, we have the Africa DevOps Summit coming up soon. It's supposed to be on October 26th, and it's going to be happening at Moringa School. So we're looking for people to be in the delegation, so part of the summit. We're also looking for speakers for the summit and also people we can partner with for the summit. So our theme for this year is DevOps in Africa, past, present, future of a tech revolution. And I think this is the first one of many, but the goal is to host it in different cities around Africa. So you can plug in various ways. You can either scan this code to go to the Africa DevOps Summit LinkedIn page, or go to the website where you're able to sign up to attend, and also as a speaker or even a sponsor. And then these are also the QR codes for our LinkedIn, our WhatsApp, and Twitter. So for anyone who hasn't joined our platforms, you can scan this and yeah, you can join the community. Be a part of our team. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Amos for now. And yeah, you can take over. I'll stop sharing my screen. And if anyone has any questions during this presentation, kindly just type on the chat section and we'll
All right. All right. Thank you, Anjiku, and good evening, everyone. And I'm glad to be here. My name is Amos Guni. I'm a technical recruiter working currently for a blockchain company based in the UK by the name Nethermind. You can check out my profile on LinkedIn and we can connect some more. And before I proceed to sharing my screen and sharing this conversation, I'd like to know who is in the house. And could you help me by just typing what profession you are, if you're a DevOps engineer or if you're a SRE engineer or anyone else who is in the room. I just want to get a sense of who I am speaking to tonight. So if you're able to just type on the chat your background, and that would be very, very helpful just to get a sense of who is in this conversation today. Michael is a backend engineer. Albertine is a support engineer. Wanjiku is a software engineer. Yeah, so type your title or type your career. If you're not working and probably in a profession, just type it. Let's just have a sense of who we have among the 27 of us here. I'll be very happy to do that. Data analyst, integration developer, software engineer. All right. Keep them coming. Probably the next one more minute, and then we will proceed. All right. So as I wait for the others to type in their profession, I would just want to give a slight background about myself. I've been in the technical recruitment for nearly a decade now. I come from a business background, but a very strong lover for technology. And I think at some point when I was beginning my career in commerce, I felt very strongly that probably I just want to change my career to development. And because I had a very strong love for commerce and human resources, someone told me that you can actually be a HR within the technology space. You just need to understand how technology works and learn a few things within the technology space, and you will, blend in your profession with your passion. And that's how I grew to develop. So I began to specifically desire to work with technology companies, and I've been very, very fortunate to align myself with technology. Previous to Nethermind, where I'm currently working, I've been working I worked at Microsoft as a technical recruiter for EMEA region, and before that I was at Moringa School, and before that I was at Andela, and before Andela I was at Strathmore University. So all these are recruitment roles, basically hiring technology guys, either DevOps or software engineers or support engineers or data scientists or all technical roles, of course, with a number of non-technical roles. And it's been a pleasure really to connect talent to opportunities and mentoring people along the way. This has really, really been my pleasure. And so today, as we spend a few minutes to basically see how we can optimize our resumes, but also our profiles, I'll also share a few tips and there around interviews and how you can ace those interviews. But then, because of the time, I may not be able to speak conclusively, but we can connect further beyond today's presentation. Also, I want to mention that I am not going to be prescriptive today. I am just prescriptive in the sense that I'm not giving you, especially on the CV part, I don't want to dictate how your CV should look like in terms of design and how they looks. I will mostly move around what you need to include and how you want to include it. It's up to you, because I know we are in a season where people have different approaches, different templates, different designs, and so on and so forth. I think I will leave those prescriptions to you. For me, I'll go back to the basics and give you the foundationals, which I think will be very, very good. All right. All right. So I'm seeing a lot of software engineers and support engineers and data people, which is good. So today we will look at looking at your resume, and I've titled it Git Commit Your Career by version controlling your resume, your CV, and then we'll package your skills for the cloud in terms of how do I package myself for recruiters to see, both on my CV and also on LinkedIn. Tips here and there to help you galvanize that. And finally, looking at the interview sprint, looking at how do I get the right techniques to be successful in an interview environment. And finally, how do you showcase your value, both to the team, but also to an employer or to a potential employer? So stay tuned. Let's participate. Let's have our questions on the chat. Let's be active. Let's engage. And I know we'll be able to get a lot of value out of this conversation. All right. So we are ready to cruise. Let me see whether we can. Great. So if we are ready to go, just want to see, are we able to annotate on this? All right, we can. Are we ready to go? If you're ready to go, you can just put on the chat or send a reaction to say yes or whatever it is. I'm not sure whether you have the permissions to use the reaction tab. Oh yes, we are ready. All right, awesome. All right, so I want to move into the next slide, and this slide is setting the bar for us to look at what exactly do employers look out for when we receive applications or when we have advertised for a role or when basically looking for candidates. Having spent time to recruit and to hire and to engage many candidates, I have looked at these four things that have been very, very consistent throughout, and I want to just share briefly among them. One of them is recruiters and employers are looking for skills. And by skills, I mean both technical skills and the non-technical skills. A lot of the resumes I see have these common words of ability to work under pressure, ability to multitask, good communication skills, good teamwork. While those things are important and are good, everyone else can do that. If you're a DevOps engineer or you're a software developer, and the skills you're prioritizing on your resume are those ones, even a data scientist can do that. Even someone who is doing pastry can do that. Even a chef can do that. Even a HR person can do that. They can communicate, they can work under pressure, they can work with teams, and they can do all those things. My recommendation has always been, anytime you see a recruiter is looking for talent, ask yourself, what kind of talent are they looking for, especially from the technical standpoint, and how do I align my technical skills to the technical skills that these recruiters are actually looking for. So the first place to land is your technical ability. Do I have the tools, the technologies, the skills technically that this recruiter is looking for? And I will spend a little bit more time today in one of the slides to basically break that down for us from a DevOps perspective, and to be able to ask yourself, how am I measuring against those ones? So that is number one. Make sure that your technical ability or technical skills are figured out, and very clearly that you have those skills and you're ready to interview. The second bit is the soft skills, which many of us always want to prioritize in their resumes. They are good, however, they are transferable skills. So we just want to see them, but also we want them to be demonstrated more during interviews and in a subsequent conversation. And I'm talking about the ability to communicate, the ability to collaborate, especially in a virtual space, the ability to lead teams, the ability to have integrity and grit, and basically problem-solving skills. How are you going to survive and work with other people in this environment? So those are good skills to have. However, by the time I'm advertising for a job, the first thing I want to look out for are the technical ability. Otherwise, everybody else has these ones. Yeah. The second one is experience. Again, it is experience, technical experience, and non-technical experience. Again, anytime a recruiter is advertising for a job, their first priority is technical experience, technical exposure. Do you have work experience that is relevant to what we are looking for? Either you worked full-time, or it was an internship, or it was a volunteer work, or it is independent projects. How do you have galvanized experiences that we can have a conversation around them? Yeah. And these experiences is not recommendation letters. No, it's not recommendation letters. It's actually things that you did, and you can write them on your resume or on your GitHub, and you can show and demonstrate. I know some people are very big on, I did a small volunteering work here, and the only thing you can show is a recommendation letter or a letter from that supervisor that he did A, B, and C and D. While that is good, that does not translate to the actual ability to do the job. What we are very keen now is skill-based assessment and skill-based demonstration of your ability to do the job, and not recommendation letters or good references letters from other people. They have a place in it, but they do not always translate to the ability to do the job. Yeah, or they do not also translate to skills as well. And the third thing is qualifications. Again, by the time I'm advertising for a DevOps engineer or a cloud engineer, I want to also be very honest and say, beyond the skills, beyond the experiences, do you have the qualifications? And this is very debatable. There are companies that have a bare minimum qualifications. There are others who do not have any bare minimum qualifications. Others are open. Yeah. So you have a boot camp experience, a boot camp qualification, that's still qualification. If you have an Udemy qualification, that's still okay. If you've gone to the university and you have a bachelor's degree and then you did a bit of your own other certifications, it's still okay. What I'm looking for is, do you have the minimum qualification that this job is actually looking out for? So I know we're in a country where people keep on trying for anything, as long as hoping that you'll get an audience, which is okay. but you also want to be sensitive to if probably you are looking for an engineering manager who has led teams of about 8 people minimum and has a master's degree and has all those experiences. It is also nice to respect that. However, there are companies that will put a master's degree. However, they're okay to take anyone who has the relevant experience, relevant skills, and has the potential. That is okay. But I'm just saying it is also good to look at the qualifications, your own qualifications, so that you also prevent yourself from being too discouraged by the no's that you might potentially receive by applying randomly to jobs that you naturally don't qualify. Yeah. So I have said it's debatable, but just be conscious of the fact that there are companies that have very open, others are very, very strict. You just need to find out. And then finally is potential and interest. We don't have a passionometer for this. There's no place you can measure passion. However, I look out for candidates who show a very genuine desire, to want the job, but also they're already looking at how they want to grow in that job. If there are specific skills they want to learn out of that job, they have done their background to know this industry and this company. I'm looking for enthusiasm in a candidate. And sometimes I meet candidates who are very laid back. They're basically, maybe because they are worried, but they're just waiting for you to ask questions, and there is no enthusiasm, totally zero enthusiasm. They have not done their background about the company. They are not very sure about the industry. I know there's a summit coming up about the future of DevOps. Could be a good idea for you to begin to think about what is the future of technology within the DevOps space and how do I prepare myself for that? So I'm basically looking for proactiveness when I'm engaging candidates. You could be very good, you could be very exceptional, very good, but if I do not see an element of passion, an element of enthusiasm, again, remember as a recruiter, I'm having the team that I'm interviewing for, and I'm looking at how do you fit into that team so that I'm also fair to you. I don't want to set you up for failure to a team that probably by the nature of your character and demeanor, you might struggle with those people. I don't know. I'm just thinking as I'm speaking to you. So I also want to screen in and say, how do I position you for success? You need the job, yes, but also how do I place you into the team? And therefore, that this element of passion, genuine interest, how you want to add value to the organization, how you're able to be adaptable, and so on and so forth, plays a big role in helping me make a decision faster about your candidature. So if you happen to meet a recruiter, or if you happen to meet a potential employer, think about these 4 things. Think about what skills are they looking for, what experiences do they prioritize, what qualifications do you think they're looking for, or what qualifications do you think they are okay to let go, and what potential areas can I plug in into the organization? Because some people have an idea of what they're looking for, but they don't really know. And probably you're in a networking session and you are just having random chats with people, with potential employers, and during tea breaks, packaging yourself within these 4 things might really make them even be crystal clear of the kind of a person they're looking for in you. So have that in mind as we start this conversation. Yeah. The second one, and I know I want to move faster because it's already things are moving fast. I want to look at the resume. I have a lot of things to comment on resume. And I also know that there are experts in resume writing in Kenya, people that you pay to do a very good resume for you or a CV for you. However, allow me to just focus from a recruiter's point of view. And I do not want to disqualify anybody else. I just want to tell you what I look out for in resumes. Yeah. And therefore, a few things might be a little slightly different, but I'm just want to share with you from an eye of a recruiter, what is it that I'll be very keen on? And I just summarize them here. And then in the next slide, I will break down the skills and say from a DevOps engineering perspective or a software development engineering perspective, these are the things that I want to see. But generally, I'm looking for a CV that has these items. Has personal details. I can clearly see personal details, which is your name, your email address, your working telephone number, and a LinkedIn or GitHub or any portfolio link. I am not interested with your gender. I'm not interested with your religion. I'm not interested with your language, the things we put on our personal information. That's very relevant for me. I just want to see your name. I want to see your addresses. I want to see your phone number just in case I need to communicate to you. I want to see your email address just in case I need to email you, and any virtual portfolio that I can get deeper and get to know what you've done in terms of projects and work you've done, which your GitHub can easily give me that. Any other information is not relevant to me, all right? The second one, I just want to see a professional profile. To be very honest, I don't read all of them. So it's basically a paragraph just to showcase what you've been able to do, what are your top skills, or what are you aspiring to do. Some people have it, others do not have it. I will not penalize you for having it. I will not penalize you for not having it. You will not have, for me, you will not have added more points for having it or less points for not having it, as long as the skills that I need are also demonstrated. The third thing I want to see are skills, both technical and non-technical. I will break that down in the next slide. Then the fourth one I want to see is educational background. And I've used the word educational background intentionally because it constitutes both academic training and professional certifications or professional training. That includes diploma, degree, and also includes boot camp and any other certifications or professional training that you've gone through. I want to see both of them. I'm very keen to see using the when, the where, and the what format. I mean, when is, which year did you do that training? Did you go to school? Where did you go to school? And what did you learn? Very neatly done, not in a prose form, but in a well neatly done. Yeah. Again, I was tempted to show a CV that has that, and I felt I don't want to be very instructive today. I just want to give you the points, figure it out how you want to show it in a way that a recruiter can easily pick the date, the school where you trained, and what you actually studied or what certifications you had. And again, write that in a reverse chronological order. In other words, from the latest all the way to the oldest or the earliest. And I usually encourage let high school be the least. Primary school might not really be applicable now, unless you're probably applying in a government institution that really wants to go down into the primary school level. It might not be very necessary, okay? And then the other one is work experience. I want to, does LinkedIn certification count? Most of the LinkedIn certifications are few hours certifications. If you feel that job, that certification can add value into the job you're applying, go ahead about it. However, you can easily have too many LinkedIn certifications because they're like 10 hours, 5 hours, and you're done. And so someone can say you're basically trying to get as many certifications to prove a skill, and someone might think that you're not very skilled. You're just trying to prove something. So I will judge it for yourself whether you think that certification is relevant to what you're applying, or just writing that skill and given a chance you can demonstrate it is much better. Balance between showing too many certifications versus the skill. By the end of the day, we really want to see the demonstration of the skill. However, pick one or two certifications that you think can represent the rest. Yeah, because you'll realize that in 5 to 7 years of your life as a professional, you might have very many certifications. Some of them can be replicated by others, and one of the certification can actually stand in for the other. Just have that wisdom to see which one balances out. Okay. Then work experience. Look at your personal experiences, where you have worked, the organizations you've worked. Look at the internships you've attended or attachments in that manner, or projects that you have done. I mean, if you have personal projects, and I know most of us developers have many of those. So show us the projects. Pick 3 or 4 very good projects that you feel you can confidently discuss them. Write the name of the project, the name and the title of the project, the technologies you used, and the link to that project. If you feel probably a recruiter might not identify that project on my GitHub repo, then link that hyperlink the name of that project to the actual project in your GitHub, so that I'm able to have a sense of it. Identify some of them, not all of them, because there might be too many. Identify some of them that this one can give me some bonga points with a recruiter. Again, use the when, the where, and the what format in a reverse chronological order. I am also very interested to engage people who have an element of leadership. Any leadership roles they have held, either at the university or a dev community or any associations they have been involved in. It's very, very good. By and large, many companies can easily get people to work and people to crack the code and people to get things done. Many people are available, but very, very many companies are struggling to get potential leaders, people who can lead teams, people who can lead others, people get organized. We are struggling with that. And if we see anyone who's been in leadership or has participated in leadership, we really want to have conversation with them and find out whether it's an area they want to grow and develop in. So be very mindful of adding any leadership position that you have held or any area of leadership that you participated in, if you think that leadership is an area that you want to grow in. Again, some people are aspiring to be leaders, others are okay to be individual contributors, and it's okay. Others are still not very sure. But if you have leadership experiences, please show it. And I also want to challenge you. Nairobi DevOps could be that opportunity for you to begin to nurture and hone your leadership capabilities, because I can tell you, recruiters and hiring managers are very, very keen to engage people with a high potential to become leaders in the future. All right. And then finally, hobbies. Again, as a recruiter, I sometimes check them, I sometimes don't check them. But it could be hobbies or achievements or things that you're very much involved in outside of work. I personally don't like hobbies that are inactive, like listening to music or watching movies. They are good things to do for fun. We are doing them for fun. But when I see them in CVs, they are not inactive. They are inactive hobbies. I am looking for hobbies that are pointing you to the direction of engaging people, engaging society, engaging other brains. That's where I'm picking elements of leadership and adding value to other people. That's what recruiters largely are very enthusiastic about. Sometimes I would meet someone who they're into games, for example, they're athletes, short races, they participate in Nairobi marathons, they're doing a few things here and there. It makes them look wholesome individuals. Yeah. So while all of us are listening to music and watching movies and listening to music might not be a very appealing hobby. They'll just fill up the space. They might not be a very appealing hobby to put in a resume to attract a recruiter. But if you tell me that you're mentoring some young boys and girls in football, or you're participating in short races, or I don't know, volunteering here and there, something like that, it can pique my interest, and it can be a good icebreaker when I ask you, tell me about yourself, and we can get to know each other a little bit more. All right. And then finally, the referees. Again, some people display their referees, others don't display their referees. You will not be penalized by either. At a personal level, I don't display my referees, but if you really want to display your referees, ensure that you have the name of the referee, the current position, the organization they are working, and their contact addresses. And please get their personal phone numbers and personal email addresses. This idea of getting a university lecturer who is using a university email address and the office telephone number, and they are very untraceable, is not good, and it's not working for us if you are a job seeker. So talk to your referees, let them know that you are a referee to them, and let them give you their personal details. And for me, I'm looking for a professional referee, someone they know you professionally, either someone you have worked with or a former supervisor, or where you are in attachment or internship, whatever it is. And then the second one is a character referee, a mentor, someone who can vouch for your character. And then the other one is an academic referee, somewhere where you have done your certifications or university or a bootcamp, whatever it is, where you've just someone who can vouch for your academic credentials in terms of, as a student, he was A, B, C, and D. Yeah. So think about those three, at least the three or two can go a long way in vouching for you. All right. So I want to do this final slide, and then I will pause for one or two questions. When I think about engineering and DevOps specifically, I have looked at the things that I personally been hiring for and picked a few things, and I've picked these things from the job descriptions I've been hiring for and the CVs that I've been interacting with, especially from the DevOps side of things. There might be other things that I've probably missed out, but I felt these six things are important. One, as a DevOps engineer, and I'm sorry if you're a software engineer and probably have not captured a software engineering element, but probably you'll get the gist of it. As a DevOps engineer, I'll be very, very attracted at the beginning to see cloud platforms. What cloud platforms are you familiar with? And I've given them here, plus the details of each one of them. Are you familiar with cloud platforms? Are you familiar with Lambda? Are you familiar with Azure? Are you familiar with the GCP, for example? And if yes, capture that on your CV, at least on the first page, at least at the first page, the upper part. Because as a recruiter, when I'm looking at the CV, and all of us here, when you look at a document, let me try to annotate with this one. If I look at this document, our eyes largely fall under this category. Most of our eyes will fall under this category. This is where our eyes fall in any document. If you look at the document, if I place a document on your table, your eyes largely rotate around this area. You know, this area of your eyes is where your eyes will land first. So the top places will be your name and all the details of your personal details, but I want to see your skills. I want to see your skills here, because this is where majority of us, if you're given any document, this is where our eyes land. And so I want to see these skills at that level. However you want to arrange them, figure it out, but I want to see them at that level. So look at the cloud platforms that you're familiar with. Look at the infrastructure that you're familiar with or you have experienced in. I've given you two of them, Terraform and Ansible. In terms of Docker and Kubernetes, very, very common things. But have you, do you have that experience in terms of dealing with them? And if not, how do I begin to learn? CI/CD pipelines is very, very common. Scripting, bash scripting is very, very common. Tools, DevOps tools like Git, Agile, all those things are very, very common. My question to you as a DevOps engineer is, of all these skills that I have displayed on this screen, how are you faring at a personal level? What do you know? What are you very good at? What are you not very good at? And how are you planning to grow in those? Especially if you can't get it at work, you can do projects to be able to hone your skills in those ones. If I'm a recruiter, I'd want to see at least 2 or 3 that you feel you are very, very good at, and then let the rest come later. So for me as a recruiter, those are the things that from a DevOps perspective, those are the tools and the technologies and the skills I really want to see, at least at the front page of your resume, where I have indicated on your eyes, because it gives me a sense of who you are and what you've been able to do and what you can do. And it gives me the encouragement to read further into your resume and so on and so forth. Yeah. So before I go into the tips, I want to pause here and take in any question. At this point, I can pause for a minute to just look at any question on the chat, and then I can move on. Let me look at the chat. Does LinkedIn certification count? I think I have answered that. I have a recommendation letter, but I'm not sure where to place it, on my LinkedIn or on my portfolio or both. I am not a very good fan of recommendation letters. I am a very good fan of skills. So I really honestly would say, don't focus on recommendation letters. They do not translate to skills. They don't translate to experiences. You are better off demonstrating what skills you have gained from that experience than demonstrating a recommendation letter, at least from a technical point of view. I really want to discourage such letters. I want to encourage more of what skills did you gain from that internship or attachment beyond the recommendation letters. All right, any question going once? Probably people are typing. As they type, I can just proceed to the interview, to the resume tips. 4 tips I'll give you, people. Number 1 tip is that simplicity and neatness always carries the day. Make your resume very simple, very neat. If you get someone to have a designer template, it's okay. If you don't have a designer template, a simple Word document goes a long way. A very simple Word document. Do not be overwhelmed by the demands and the pressure of people to say, I can design a CV for you professionally, pay me 2,500 or 3,000 or 5,000. While it is good to do that, what I'm really, really looking for is not the designer CV. It is the simplicity and neatness that comes with it. All right. Unless probably you're a designer, a professional designer, and also you want to design a CV in such a way that when the recruiter sees it, they can see the designer in you. All right. However, simplicity and neatness goes a long way for me. The second one is be a lover of using of keywords and phrases in your resume. And I've just picked 2 examples there. From a technical standpoint, use words like architected and implemented scalable cloud native infrastructure solutions. Reuse words like designed or implemented or planned or coordinated or deployed. Use high impact words and phrases for your resume. Like this one, reduce deployment time. So when I see the word reduce deployment time and I see the percentages, for example, it attracts me. When I see successfully migrated, it is high impact. It is keyword. If I see words like implemented, if I see word like monitored, or I led cross-functional teams, or fastened the culture, or monitored and developed junior developers, or managed, very, very important. The other bit, sorry for this one, the other bit on grammar, please look at grammar, and I think I've written it down there. Look at your grammar, and Grammarly is a very good tool just to help you check on that. I've also included an element of length of the resume. While there is no rule for resume, I think all of us remember seeing the late Magoa having a 72-page resume, but 2 to 3 pages is good enough for a resume. So try to consolidate your resume to have 1 or 2, maximum. If it goes too much, maybe 3 pages. But however, ensure that your first page is attractive enough to encourage the recruiter to look through the other pages. But 1 or 2 pages is good enough. In terms of fonts, professional fonts goes a long way. I may not be able to dictate which kind of font, but we all know the preferred fonts that you can, the safer fonts for us. Just pick a professional font, and it's be good enough. And make them uniform. Make them uniform font throughout your document, throughout your CV, and ensure that you use the correct tenses. English construction is a very big thing. Ensure that you do that. And finally, for me, will be avoid exaggerations, avoid untruths, avoid repetitions, avoid abbreviations that are not palatable to people who are not in your scope. Avoid jargons or slang, all self-flattering terms that cannot be substantiated. Basically avoid blowing too much whistle for yourself, or errors or typos, because it raises red flags for the recruiters. So have a simple CV, either designed CV or simple Word document, and remember the things to include, and include your skills. And in terms of experiences, use high impact words or high impact phrases to translate those, translated what you've done. If you're struggling with that, you can even go to ChatGPT or Grammar or Gemini to really help you, and then reward it again, so that you reduce what is it called, plagiarism issues with recruiters. So use that. The other thing I want to also comment here is what we call the ATS compliant CVs. ATS compliant CVs. It's a big thing nowadays. But I also want to mention that as long as you have looked at the job description, what they're looking for, and you have done your skills and competencies very well, a good recruiter will be able to notice it. Because I'll be very honest, what ATS does, what an ATS will do is two things. One, we have something called pre-qualification questions. Pre-qualification questions are questions like, do you have 3 years of experience and above? Yes or no? Are you allowed to work in this country? Yes or no? Are you a DevOps, blah, 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 blah. Do you have DevOps skills, the following skills in DevOps, yes or no? Something like that. They are called pre-qualifications questions. If you answer them and the system is set to say, if you say out of the 4 questions, we only take 3 of them. If you fail to, if for example, out of the 4 questions, 3 must be correct. If 3 of them are not correct, you are disqualified automatically. So people are clever. They will answer yes, 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 and your CV will pass. All right. The other section of the ATS is screening in the qualifications, the skills. The screening in of those skills, very few ATSs, you are able to punch in this required skills and for them to automatically disqualify you when those skills are not seen. I have only interacted with one that does that. Majority of the ATSs, what we do as recruiters is we use the ATS to search key skills. We use Boolean search after you have already applied. We use the Boolean search to search the relevant skills on the CVs of all the applicants, and it gives us the resumes of the people whose skills are appearing. So for example, I'm hiring for a DevOps engineer, and I'm looking for either Lambda or Azure or GCP. And then in terms of infrastructure, I'm looking for either Terraform or Ansible, like that. So I will key in all these cloud platforms, infrastructure, containerization, CI/CD, all this. I will put them there. All right, they could be like 10. And tell myself, anyone who has 5 of those, that might be a good candidate, I will proceed with them. So I will allow everybody else to apply. Then I will put in those key skills. And all the CVs that have more of those skills, they are the CVs that I will proceed with them. The rest, I will automatically reject. So it is not like it will automatically reject at the application phase. No, you will be rejected afterwards. When I have 500 or 300 and I can't go through them. I just put the keywords and the ATS will screen that. So what I need you to do is ensure that your skills as a professional are well crafted in such a way that if I have a DevOps engineering role, a recruiter at least will see the key tools and the key technologies and the key skills in DevOps, so that should they get to the place where they are punching in those skills, your CV will survive that. Okay, that's why you hear these things called ATS compliant. But it's not that there's no ATS that will automatically reject resumes at their point of application. None of them. All right. And then what is the difference between a resume and a CV? I think it's just semantics. What does color background of your CV matter? Does the color of your background with your CV matter? For me, they're just optics. It really doesn't matter. However, remember, neatness and simplicity is the key. If you make your CV too colorful and make it too busy, then it might not really work for majority of the recruiters. Don't complicate things. We are really keen on seeing your name, your skills, and your experiences, and that's it. Do not overdo it. All right. All right. So let me move on and see what else we have. I've gone to the tips. I want to look at how you are able to package your skills, and I just used Kadima and my LinkedIn here, and say, when I look at your LinkedIn profile, The first LinkedIn there is my LinkedIn. When someone looks at my LinkedIn, they can clearly see that I have a photo, I am hiring, yeah, my name is there, the company I'm working for is there, my titles are there, the official title, but also the areas that I want the public to know that I am hiring in. I'm hiring in software engineering, I am also hiring in blockchain and Web3, I'm also hiring for product management. Those are the 4 domains that I want the public to know me for, all right? Kadima also is a DevOps engineer, and he wants to be known as a certified cloud engineer, a professional cloud architect, community manager, technical trainer, speaker, and a technical writer. That is the public portfolio that he wants to be known for, all right? So what I'm trying to say in terms of pimping your LinkedIn profile, we want to see your name. We want to see a professional photo with a solid background. Let your background be too busy. Have headlines that sort of tell the public what you need to be known for. For me, is recruitment. For Kadima, is DevOps, and I've given some of the examples there. We also want to see work experience highlighted using very high impact words. You can choose at least a maximum of 5 to 6 job description, things that you've done. We also want to see your educational background, and we have talked about it. We also want to see technical skills and tools. Again, we have already talked into the details about the technical skills you need to showcase. Go ahead and indicate that. And then the final 2 things that I want you to focus on also on LinkedIn is networking. Connect to as many people as possible, especially these 3 categories of people. The first category is a recruiter. Connect to as many recruiters as possible. Number 2, connect to DevOps people or people within your field. Connect to them, to as many as possible. Go on LinkedIn and type the titles you want to connect to, and then search. You will get hundreds of people who you can connect to. Select some of them and connect with them. The bigger your networks, the better for you, especially when you're sharing information or sharing updates or sharing learning points. And also the better for us as recruiters, because it gives us visibility. Then finally, connect to decision makers, connect to CTOs, connect to founders and co-founders, connect to CEOs of companies, especially companies that you love and you cherish and you hope to work with them later. So connect to recruiters, connect to decision makers, and connect to fellow professionals, both senior and junior within your profession. And finally, content development. Be in the habit of developing content for yourself. You are a brand, and therefore develop a brand around yourself. Build a professional brand around sharing ideas, sharing learning points, sharing your journey, sharing your accomplishments, sharing the events that you have attended and what things you took away out of them, and so on and so forth. Because LinkedIn is where the magic happens. So don't be afraid. Look through your LinkedIn profile and do something about your LinkedIn profile, okay? I was also requested to say a little bit about interviews, and I thought I have written more notes there, and for all of us to probably read and understand, because I already see time is already not on our side, but allow me to share tips and tricks here around CV, around interviews. I had hoped we could take 1 or 2 experiences around what has been your interview experience, but because of time, I'm not be able to do that. But I will share 2 things. One is how the interview process looks like, and then what are the interview questions to answer and how to answer them. A normal interview process looks like this. You will apply for a job, your CV will be reviewed by a recruiter or a hiring manager, and then if you're good, you will have a screening call by a recruiter. Then you probably have a technical assessment, which is either a take-home assignment or a technical discussion. And sometimes you have a team evaluation, maybe a team interview, or sometimes not. But sometimes they will tell you, meet our team and talk to them about. Also, you have a chance to speak to the hiring manager, someone who you'll be reporting to. Sometimes they might be the ones taking the technical assessment, sometimes they might not be the ones. And if you're successful with the screening, the technical assessment, and the team interview, and the hiring manager's interview, sometimes there may be less, sometimes there might be more. We go to the offer stage and then onboarding. All right. So it's good for you to just know how typically how the interview it looks like. And sometimes it could be the screening call and then a technical assessment and then one more interview and you're done. Sometimes it's a screening call. Sometimes it's even a technical assessment first. If you pass that technical assessment, you meet the team and then you do the HR interview. They change. But basically, we want to have an interaction with the HR, and we also want to have an interaction with the team, either technically or at team level, and then we will do the offer and onboarding. And I want to break down the interview process in this four and how to manage the process. Because of time, I may not be getting into the details, but I share a few tips and tricks here. The first part is the introductory part, where you're introducing yourself and you're sharing the details about who you are. And that's where the question about tell us about yourself comes in. Well, this is a very simple question. It is also a question around, it can be a bit complex, but how I have gone around it and what I expect my candidates to share when I ask them tell about themselves, or let's have this discussion around who are you? Who are you? Give me your background and so on and so forth. I am very keen to hear things like, I want to hear your name, I want to hear your educational background, I want to hear your skills. What skills do you have? What technical skills do you have? What non-technical skills do you have? And finally, I want to hear what experiences you have in terms of accumulated number of years of experiences, but also functional. What have you done in those experiences? As a DevOps engineer, what have you done in terms of from a technical standpoint? What functional experiences do you have? Yes, I have led teams. Yes, tell me about you leading teams. Tell me about you doing automation. Tell me about you aligning processes. Tell me about all those experiences. Galvanize all that in 2-3 minutes. So I want to hear your name. I want to hear your background, academic background. I want to hear professional background. I want to hear years of experiences. I want to hear skills. And I want to hear from a functional point of view, I want to hear what have you done in those 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 10 years, To summarize your life in that way. It makes it easier for me to have follow-up questions around your abilities and skills, or my teammates can be able to ask follow-up questions in that manner. So think about that. The second part will be the technical element. We want to get more practical. There could be oral questions, but technical questions. And this is easy, but also difficult. It's easy because as long as you have already figured out what technical skills you have, it's easier to answer those questions in an interview section. So I may not be able to speak into the details of it, but we have already covered what technical aspects you need to bring forth as a DevOps engineer. So have that figured out. The other one is scenario-based. 75% of most of the interviews are largely scenario-based. Give me a scenario where A, B, C, and D was done, and I'll give you an example of that shortly. And then finally, it's conclusion around what questions do you have for us? When are you available? What are your salary expectations? What are the next steps? And so on and so forth. So in an ideal interview, you will come in, get introduced, share your introductions, then move into the technical questions, then move into the scenario-based question, then move into the conclusion. As simple as that, okay? But I have this slide also to just help us figure out, tell us about yourself. Why do you consider yourself best fit for this role? What do you consider to be the key area of strength and weaknesses? What is your greatest achievement? Do you have any questions for us? These are typically very normal questions in an interview. And they're basically, if you have thought through who you are in terms of your educational background, the skills you have, the experiences you have galvanized over the times, the tools you have worked on, the teams you have led, the projects you have led, the technology you have interacted with, it becomes very easy to know what your key strengths are, and weaknesses are around what are the things that you're not very good at in terms of you need more further mentorship, further guidance. They're not naturally your biggest strength, and so on and so forth. And all human beings are expected to have them, you know. So as long as you figure out the things you've just discussed, these questions become very, very easy. The areas that I want you to focus on are the scenario-based questions. And I'll recommend you to this STAR method of doing things. It's called the STAR method. S is the situation, T is the task, A is the action, R is the result. And I'll give you the scenarios here, but the framework of your mind should be the STAR. This is how I want to answer those questions. S is set the scene. Give us what was the situation like. Set the scene, like give me the scenario, give me the situation, explain to me what was happening, you know, so that it sets the stage into the context of what I was working on. Probably I was a junior DevOps engineer working with a senior engineer, and this is what I was working on, you know. Then go down into describe the purpose, describe the task that you are involved in. I was involved in, let's say, automation of systems, and tell me now, explain exactly what you did, you know, as a DevOps engineer. You go into the details of what you did. And why that is important is because I'll get to know exactly where you are emphasizing on, or what are the things you actually did, what are the things that you did not do, where did you get help in, where did you collaborate, and where did you lead, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, show me what was the outcome. So the STAR method really gives us a very, very good framework into answering very scenario-based questions. And remember, most of these interview questions are largely scenario-based questions. And I've just picked a couple of them here to just help us think through. I will read two of them, and you can read the rest. For example, a question around collaboration. Describe a situation where you had to collaborate with a DevOps or a SRE team in a project that had conflicting priorities or methodologies. How did you bridge the gap and ensure a successful outcome? Again, if you think through your experiences and put that in a STAR method, what was the situation? What were you supposed to do? What exactly did you do? And what was the result? This question becomes very easy for you to answer. The other one is probably, I will skip the second one to the third one, infrastructure mistakes. Share an instance where a misconfiguration or deployment error caused a significant outage. How did you respond to this incident, and what steps did you take to prevent similar issues in the future? You know. So again, if you go back to the STAR method, you can easily bring out your mental framework and find an irrelevant example and give an answer. The final one is share an example of time when you went over and above and beyond to improve the DevOps process or deliver exceptional value to the organization. What specific actions did you take, and what were the results? Again, if you galvanize around the STAR method, you can easily find a relevant example and give the interviewer. My advice is always find relevant examples for different scenarios, either technical scenario, team scenario, collaboration scenario, communication scenario, exceeding results scenario, and failure scenario. Think about those scenarios so that in each one of them, you're able to give the relevant scenario and remember some of them during an interview. That calls for time for you to prepare. I want to now to move into the final slide, and I also want to I think I saw a question coming in at some point. Let me just see. Back to the ATS compliance software, is it safe to say that your CV should not be the same for every job, and we should purpose to customize our CV to suit the job description? Yes and no. Yes, because every job description has specific skills, specific skill set requirements that wants you to apply. And then in that front, you have to optimize. No, because if you are a DevOps person and a lot of your work and a lot of the jobs you're looking for are within the DevOps space, very likely that whatever you are doing and whatever you're looking for are more or less matching. So you can have a well-crafted DevOps CV that you know very well. If since I'm focusing on DevOps roles, both technical and probably team leadership roles, and I have both experiences, I will craft them so well that my CV can match. However, feel free to tweak it. If, for example, you have one or two job description that slightly needs some tweaking here and there. So in that case, I'll say yes and no. Normally, how long does it take to get feedback after an interview? Different companies have different feedback TATs. For me, I'll give myself 2 to 3 days, but give yourself a week and feel very free to nudge your recruiter and say, hey, I applied for this particular role. Do you have any feedback for me? Or I interviewed and it's been 2 weeks, I've not heard from the team. Do you have any feedback for me? So, be very, very, make it a habit to follow up with the recruiters. And if you find a company that is not very good with feedback, or they don't give feedback, it also speaks into their culture. And you want to ask yourself, do I want to work with such cultures where feedback is very rare? Yeah. All right. Finally, I want to also give some extra tips in terms of showcasing your value to recruiters, to hiring managers, and to people you meet along the way. Yeah. And I'll show them in 2 slides. One is that any interview that you'll be called to go, please master the technical environment that you'll be using. And here I mean testing your setup, familiarizing yourself with the video conferencing facilities, and ensuring that you have the conducive environment to take a virtual interview. If it's virtual, that's okay. If it's not virtual, but create a conducive workspace. So look at the technical environment and ask yourself, am I in a good space to take a virtual interview? And I want to emphasize virtual interviews because majority of us will do virtual interviews at the beginning, then probably go to the office later. Yeah. So figure out your technical space. The number 2 is practice virtual communication. And I have 3 things just need to mention. When speaking to recruiters, do not look at your screen, look at your camera. They also want to look at you and see your eyes looking at them. So look at your camera, do not look at the screen. If you happen to have a Codility interview and it's a live coding interview, remember Codility has the ability to know whether you have split screen and you're looking at a different screen, and if you are reading from a different screen and looking for answers. So have your familiarize yourself with that and know that nowadays there are technologies to know whether you are seeking for answers in using a different screen, especially if you're doing a live virtual interview with Codility. So look at the screen. The second one is your tonations. Ensure that you articulate your tonations, high pitch and low pitch, and sometimes you gauge it depending on the questions, so that it doesn't seem like you are you influence the emotions of the room. So don't be one liner, not one liner, but vary your tones, have tonal variations as you speak to people, to any other human being, so that they can feel like it's a normal conversation. Yeah. And finally, which is most important for me, pay attention to the questions and reflect on those questions before you go ahead to jump, especially for those overconfident applicants and overconfident candidates. Sometimes it's just good for you to just pause and just reflect for 1 or 2 seconds before you answer. Okay. Then finally, prepare. Take your time to read, brush on your core concepts, and prepare as much as possible. You will never prepare enough for an interview, but take time to prepare. Finally, highlight your remote work experience where applicable, and I've given the information there. Showcase your ability to work remotely. That's very important to us. Emphasize your communication skills. Let me explain how you effectively collaborate, effectively communicate, how you work with people, how you work with other people, how you maintain open communication lines with other people, how you collaborate. Show me how you use your tools, how you are good with those tools, and so on and so forth. Demonstrate your soft skills. by and large, it's very easy to get a technical person, but it's very difficult to get people who have soft skills and this collaboration and basically remote skills. So take time to show, how do I communicate my collaboration? How do I communicate my communication skills? How do I communicate the value I bring to the team from a non-technical standpoint? Yeah. So familiarize and make that happen. That's very, very important. Yeah. So I want to pause there, and that brings me to the very end of my presentation. Let me see. I think I had seen a couple of questions. One more question. What's the best response when asked about your salary expectations? Thanks, Tabitha, for that. I think ideally, recruiters should tell you what this role, what the salary bands are for this particular role. Ideally, recruiters should be able to open that for us. However, some companies don't do that. Some companies are very, you know the stories. So the best would be ask them what is the salary band for this role. There is no role that goes live for advertisement without budget approval. So ask them what the role is. Most likely they will tell you, they'll either tell you or say, no, we don't disclose at this level, but tell us what you're at. Feel very open to say what you are at, and feel very free to say what you really want. Because if you really want value, if they really want value, good people are expensive. So for me, I am very open to share what I'm on, and very, very open and willing to share what I really, really want. For a Kenyan context, 40 to 45% of salary bump is good enough to start. But if not, a double is also good enough. Again, some companies are misusing people, so you might even get a company that wants your value and they're willing to pay double or triple. Still, be very, very open. But also go on Glassdoor and find out what the salary ranges are. Ask people. Nowadays, it's very easy to get people working in these companies. Very, very easy. And you can easily get salary figures among them. But my rule has always been, I want to be the top candidate. And if I'm the top candidate, we can always have that discussion. And if they're not willing to, if they're not willing to budge, it's still fine. You'll get another company. Don't be desperate because of this pay. Right. I know Kadima have taken 16 more minutes. I want to pause there. Thank you very much, everybody. I want to stop my presentation and take in any question and any thoughts, any reflection, or any addition. Back to you, Wanjiku and Kadima.
Okay, thank you so much, Amos. There's a question from Elliot. It says, can you refer to notes that you have prepared during a technical interview?
If you are referring to notes in terms of questions, asking the questions, that's still okay. Referring to notes, if you're answering an interview question, might not look very good on you. I think for me will be being smart enough to say, if they have asked me a question around tools, these are the tools I have. If they're asking me a question around soft skills in terms of collaboration, communication, and whatnot, these are the examples I'm thinking about. If they're asking me questions around dealing with pressure at work, these are the scenarios I will be thinking about. So begin to think about scenarios in your mind and practice without having to go back and say, what did I say? What did I write? It might not very look good on you. So that's where the place of revising and practicing comes in. Yeah. But if it's referring to notes that you had, like questions you had thought through and you wrote them down, that's okay. And you can tell them that, yeah, I prepared some questions for you guys, and my first question goes to Kadima, blah 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 blah. My second question goes to Eliud, and you ask Eliud. My third question goes to Wanjiku, and you ask Wanjiku, because you had already thought through them prior. That's still allowed. All right.
Okay. Any last question, guys, before we close the call? Uh, there's a question from Cynthia. Yeah, she's asking, what if you're asked a question and you don't have an answer? How do you tell them? And also, if you're asked about your strengths and weaknesses.
Thanks, Cynthia. I think we have already discussed the strengths and weaknesses. I will share the notes. I think Kadima can share the notes. We can check it out. But if you don't have an answer, be very open to say, I mean, we are all human beings, to say, honestly, I am not very conversant with that. I have not interacted with it, or I have very little knowledge about that. However, I am willing to learn. All of us are learners. We are all in the learning journey. So do not lie. Do not lie. Do not pretend you know. Do not bullshit people. Just say you have very little knowledge, or you have no idea, or that is still new for you. However, this is the much I know about it. However, I am willing to learn, because you have a very good learning agility. So do not lie. Do not begin to go beat around the bush. You can easily lose a lot of confidence by trying to demonstrate that you know, yet you do not know. So do not lie. In terms of strengths and weaknesses, it is a question of what skills do you have? What skills do you have? What experiences do you have that you're putting on the table? That's a very big strength. Yeah. And the skills is both technical and non-technical. In terms of weaknesses, share the things that you know very well, you're not very good at. Do not lie and say, and pick a weakness that clearly we can see you're lying. If you're not very good with making presentations, if you're not very good with standing before people to present, but you're very good with preparing documents for presentation, tell them that in a team, I am the person who will go and prepare all the documents for presentations, but I'm not very good at standing in front of people. It's an area I want to grow in. So if you have client presentations or client projects, I will take the role of preparing for documentations, but give someone else do the presentation. That might look like a weakness, but it's an area of improvement. Yeah. So show people the areas that you really want to grow in as areas of weaknesses, and not say, I have a very bad temper. If I get angry, I will destroy the screen in the room. That is not the weakness you're looking for. We are looking for things that you are at work level, you are not very good at, and you want mentorship on. I am not very good at dealing with clients, because my background has been dealing in the back end. And so in my next role, I want to grow in client facing roles, so that I'm able to engage with clients moving along. It's a weakness, but it's a growing area. Okay. So let us rebrand the weakness to, what are the area of improvements are you seeing yourself desiring to grow into, as opposed to weaknesses. All right. Yeah. Is it advisable to note down questions, comments on a notepad shared by recruiters during in-person interviews? I am very skeptical about a candidate who is taking down notes while we are having conversations. I have met candidates, when I ask them a question, they take a pause and write that question, then think about it, then answer me. That is not smart enough. I am looking for smart people. Do not take notes in front of an interviewer. Just take them in. You are smart enough to remember things and respond. Unless you're just taking one item and just scripting, really. You don't have to write a full sentence. You can just scribble down something to just make you remember, really. But I will not be impressed by a candidate who is writing a full sentence, writing and taking notes in an interview session. What is the place of their brain? I mean, they can't remember these things. No. No. Don't. You also want to appear smart and intelligent and someone with good memory in front of an interviewer or in front of a team. So if it's just scribbling, one word or two words, just to make your intelligent mind remember it when you see it, the better. But not, if you're the type who, if I ask you a question, you have to write it down, think about it, then give me an answer, you have lost me and you will not proceed. I am looking for an intelligent person who can listen to me, listen to 3 or 4 questions, remember them, and articulate very well without having to scribble down. And I know you can do that. Yeah. All right. I think we can come to an end. Over to you, Kadima and Wanjiku.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amos, for the knowledge that you shared. I'm sure we've all learned a lot and things that we're going to apply in our lives moving forward. I think we can end the call. There's one last question from Obiso. It says, for virtual interviewers, is it okay to just go on with the interview without your camera on, or should we just show?
Yeah, just have your camera on.
Okay.
Obino, please have your camera. Always have your camera on, unless you have bad internet and you have the permission of the interviewer. By the way, never get into any interview without a camera. I find most Kenyans and Nigerians very, very obsessed with that. It's bad manners. It's not good practice. Please have your video on always. It's a good practice, unless you have the outright permission of the recruiter to go off screen. Yeah. What if the interviewer has their camera off? Yeah, that is not your, that is them. You are the one looking for a job. However, you can just let them know, by the way, I can't see you, or I can't see your screen, as a by the way, and just check whether it is intentional or not. So if it is intentional, they'll tell you, oh, sorry, I will not have my camera on, but I can see you, or you can go ahead to have your video on. And if you feel you want to ask them to also have your video off, you can ask them, do you want me to also have my video off, or I'm okay to have video on? Yeah, have their permissions, but your default should be my camera should be on. That should be your default. And if you're using your phone to do interviews, please do not hold your phone. Find a place, set it somewhere else so that you can be seen very well, so that you're not holding your phone during an interview. You can easily tell you might be struggling, and you might even not be very stable. So find a place where, if you're using your phone, place your phone in a place where you know it's stable, and not this way. At least you can be able to have a steady conversation. However, I don't encourage people to use their phone, but circumstances sometimes don't allow us to have our laptops. And as long as it's stable and has good internet, that's still okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can end it there for today. Thank you guys for joining our event. And if you want to join others, we normally post this information on the upcoming events on our social media pages. So kindly follow us and you'll be updated. Yes. I think that's all. Have a lovely evening, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.